Okay, good morning. Chaim, you're the only one right now, and Hilo's the only one here, but hey, we're
Good
learning.
morning. Good
Oh,
morning.
okay, good morning. So here we are at 68B, which is Samaches Amid Days. Maybe 10 lines or so right before the wide lines at the bottom. And we're going to try and do 69 and 70 if we can do it. Okay, we thank Hashem for letting us learn and trying to do our best in Torah mitzvah, spring Mashiach now. We learned this year for Refuah Shlema for the Rabbi Smith's father, Tzvi Levi ben Miriam Edel, also for our compatriot, colleague, our friend, Naftali ben Menucha Bela, also for a doctor I used to work with, Avram ben Shoshana, also please for my son, needs a full refuah and good for my middle son, it's Uriel Gabriel ben Rachel Chaya. We need God, please bring the hostages back home alive already. Okay, and that kind of cover the bases. Okay, and let's go. Where I told you to start. Metamim l'chaim metamim yivation. Okay, let me just kind of make this a little bit easier for me to read.
Was this the mousey?
Yeah, we just spoke about the mouse. Oh, by the way, hopefully you all looked into. I tried to set an order, by chart or by heart, a chart of everything we learned yesterday because it was a bit confusing. And what's interesting is ChatGPT was able to make a chart for me. I'm amazed. So, Yeshkach ChatGPT. Must be have a Yiddish cup in there. Okay, so we were talking about the machlokes or whatever the situation where a mouse fell into a barrel of beer, and we were saying, well, did that really enhance the taste of the beer or not enhance the taste of beer? Normally we say things that enhance the taste of something are usur. So, and if they don't enhance, they're allowed. So we might think that a mouse that falls into a beer barrel will certainly not enhance the taste. No one would want to eat it. But blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. We went into a whole expounding on this case and we differentiated between, well, maybe it does make the taste better, maybe it doesn't. Everyone would hate a mouse from the city, a plain mouse, but royalty mouse is what we're talking about, rodents, which Rashi said was a squirrel. So if you read his words, he's saying it's a squirrel. So the kings would eat squirrels. All right, just people eat iguanas out there. By the way, it's open iguana season. Get rid of your iguanas. They're like really make a mess out there. Okay, so can the Rabbi wait? Okay, wait, I just jumped. Nope. 68. What did I just do here? 68B and so, okay, we said we're down by where it's talking about, wet or dry. I'm sorry, I just lost again. What was the first words? The imitation. I love this mouse pad. I love this Shas pad, but if I just happen to touch it with my finger quickly, it jumps to okay. Okay. Alamatzanan. All right. Then we learned in the Mishnah, Metamim L'chaim, a sheretz, a rodent, a nevela, and semen. Like sailors, okay? Transmit tumah when moist. All right, but if these things already had died and they're dry, they don't transmit tumah, impurity. L'tamech shifa zera to tamei lach v'yavesh. But according to your reasoning, that semen should, I don't know what else to say, if sailors should transmit tumah whether moist, that's not the right word, I don't know what to say here. All right, tumah whether moist or dry. Alama Tanan, then we learn in the Mishnah that was just cited by Gemara, Metamin Lachem, a sheretz and vela, and what we just talked about, they transmit tumah when it's moist. They ain't tamin yivation, but they don't transmit tumah when they're dry, meaning when it's dead. Elamai is lemema. Rather, what What is there to you say in defense of your line of reasoning? Shechva Zera Amar Chmarna, it says there. It says in the Torah when we're talking about Shechva Zera, which is talking about the stuff that men use to promulgate their families. I'm not talking about the wives. I'm talking about the intermediary agents. It says in this Torah, Shechva Zera. The word Zera means seed. This indicates Ruya Lazriya, seed that's still able and fit to fertilize, meaning it's still got to be alive. It's still got to be, I don't know, within 3 days or a week max, whatever it is. Ishikit Azriya Ben, that whole story, which excludes dried fertilizer. I'm trying to talk family friendly, even though lawyers in here. Here too, in discussing the tumah, the impurity of shrotzim of rodents, the merciful one, meaning Hashem in his Torah, says in his Torah, when they die. Now, what does that mean when they die? Ka'ain mosam, it indicates when it's about to die. When it's totally dead, it's already dry. Then it can't go and bring impurity to another object or to you. On the other hand, when it just died that moment, they didn't do CPR yet on the mouse. I don't know what that would stand for. Continuous pressure rodentization. I don't know, whatever. It's still that moment, so to say. Hatzalah there, they're working on the mouse. All right. Then at that moment, it's still considered like it's alive in the sense that it can transmit. What's that noise? Too much. Shut up. Quiet. Oh, I've been. Okay. All right. You need to turn that off. Okay, wonderful. All right, but we're trying to run this year. Right, Reb Moshe just came in with special. Look in the camera. Come here. Look in. Let people see it. Look, this is the whole reason. Get down. This is the whole reason we have a family-friendly share. Right. Mr. Friendly Park. And the lawyer, please be quiet. Let's continue. Maski Rav Shimi Minahardai. So Rav Shimi Minahardai objected. He objected to this answer of saying it's just at the moment when a mouse has died that at that moment it still can be. The whole question is whether or not it's a mekabel tumor or will give off a tumor. Guys, please be quiet. Me is. But is a mouse repulsive? Valo ola. I had already mentioned this before about certainly rodents are served on the table of kings. The Gemara answers, Rav Shimi Minardai, Rav Shimi from Minardai, there's no difficulty here. The mouse that's served on the table of kings is the mice of the fields, all right? That's the squirrels, whereas the mouse that Rav Sheshes says it's repulsive is a city mouse. Rav rejects Rav Shesh's assertion that a mouse or other sherrits is an exception to the general rule that the detrimental flavor of a forbidden substance does not prohibit the mixture containing it. Yeah, because we had said before, if it's detrimental to the flavor, it's permitted. That was the whole thing we were learning the last couple pages. If it tastes good, then it's also because you might continue doing something that's prohibited. However, if it doesn't taste good, if it makes the food worse, the food which initially was kosher and perfectly fine tasting, then it's not usher. Why isn't that? But we still have to figure out the dosages, etc. Amar Rava said, "Hilchaseh nosein tam lifkar mutar." The halacha is that if a prohibited substance, I just said, imparts a flavor to the detriment of the permitted food, it is permitted. That I just said in my own language. V'achbara v'shichra, and as far as the case of a mouse that fell into beer is concerned, la yadana ma'itama de Rav. I don't really understand what's the reasoning why Rav's prohibiting the beer. Imishim kasava nasin tam lefkam asur. If he rules it's prohibited because he holds in general that a prohibited substance. Can you control yourself?
I'm telling him.
What?
You're saying beer and not bear.
They understand my language. Just because you don't, you need to go learn English for your ears. Okay. Amy Shemiksaban Tom Lifkam Ashur, if he ruled it is prohibited because he holds in general that if a prohibited substance imparts a flavor to the detriment of the permitted food, it is prohibited. And then halacha would not be according to him, because we said the halacha is that if it makes a flavor that's no good to it, it is allowed. So if he's saying it's not allowed because that, then we don't follow his. The halacha isn't like him. And if he's saying that if it gives a flavor that's no good, it's okay. Or if he would to hold parts of flavor of food, it is permitted. But he also holds the mouse that falls into beer and enhances the beer. The Gemara up until this point discussed the case of mouse that fell into beer. The Gemara now discusses the case of mice that fell into vinegar. Okay, let's go further. All right, nafalago pala. If a mouse fell into vinegar, all right. Is this kosher vinegar we're starting with? I guess so. Because otherwise we wouldn't be worried bad. If it's not kosher, well, there's no cases. What's the law? Shalom, you with me? Yeah, you're with me. You're way ahead of me. I'm not worried about it. The Gemara attempts to resolve the inquiry. Thank you for bringing Shalom. I really appreciate it. It's nice. We're learning now with 4 more people, even though the lawyer is very unruly, and I'm going to hold you in contempt. All right. Amalei Rav Hillel Rav Ashi. All right, so Rav Hillel said to Rav Ashi, who we're at the top of 69a. Havo of the Bay Rav Kahana. There was an incident in Rav Kahana's house where a mouse actually fell into vinegar. But also Rav Kahana. And Rav Kahana prohibited the vinegar. All right. Now, initially you're saying, well, wait a minute. A mouse falling into vinegar. A mouse is not going to make this vinegar taste better. And we said that things that make something taste worse are permitted. They're permitted because nobody's going to touch them anyway, right? It's only when it makes it taste better that it's permitted, because then we're worried that you might come and therefore eat stuff that's not kosher or associated with people that are not appropriate, this, that, etc., whatever level you want to read this on. Gemara rejects the proof. Amalei Rav Ashi said to Rav Hillel, hey, Hillel, you got your name in here on your birthday. Ahu imartute imarta. In that case, the mouse disintegrated into small pieces. So it's not the same situation where the mouse fell in and they pull out the mouse right away, they wash it off, whatever. Guess what? The beer is still the same beer.
3 second.
What?
3 second rule.
The 3 second rule. Right. The mouse wasn't even there for 3 seconds, couldn't even get a 3-point shot. All right. That was it. So it went in and out. All right. But it's where the mouse disintegrated in small pieces. And when yesterday I was cleaning out my garage and I'm sweeping up during it, and my wife goes, get the dead mouse in the corner. And so I'm looking, I'm sweeping. I can't find a mouse. Finally, I found a mouse that was there. It was like this big. It's essentially, I don't know how big it was to start, but cockroaches, not my house, but cockroaches, palmetto bugs are larger than this mouse. I thought I maybe took a picture of it. No, I'm not going to show you a picture now. All right. But it was so disintegrated, really all you saw was the hair. And I right away thought of this Gemara, that if it's so disintegrated that there's nothing there, it's almost like, nothing, like cookie crumbs that's in the beer. Don't say that. Now Shalom will never eat those cookies anymore. Amalei Rav Ashi says, Rav Hillel, Ahu imartute imarta. This is the case where the mouse disintegrates in small pieces. Since the inquiry as to whether the flavor imparted the mouse renders the vinegar prohibited has not been resolved, we must act stringently and prohibit the vinegar. However, it is certain that, as with respect to other prohibited substances, this applies only when the mouse is large enough to impart the detectable flavor to the vinegar. In other words, here we're saying we're not even sure that it imparted any flavor. Generally, where the prohibited substance has less than 1/60th of the volume of the permitted substance, the prohibited substance is considered too small to impart a flavor. And in general, that's what we were learning all along. We said with min the mino, if the same category of item fell into the same category of item, that's called min the mino, it was mashahu. It was even the tiniest amount would nullify it. But if it's min should be ain't no mino, last few days we learned that one kind and following another kind, then you had to still like taste it. And if you taste it, then the decision would be made. It's a good taste, bad taste. But if you can't taste anymore, it's so small, then we hold a general rule 1/60th, even though we might bring cases shortly where maybe further stringency should apply. The Gemara now considers whether the same applies here. What's the case? Ravina Saba Sharei B'meya V'chad. Ravina thought to use the measure of 1 part in 100 and to nullify a mouse that fell into vinegar. So he's going to bring a raya from somewhere else. He's going to bring a proof from somewhere that it should be at least 1 in 100. And not just a 1 in 60, which in the end is actually the way we hold to make things simpler, because people have to, is it 1 in 100, is it 1 in 60, there's that, blah, 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 you know, so Amalo Garam Truma. It shouldn't be any worse than Truma. This nan we learned in the Mishnah. All right, remember all these past days we've been bringing Bryces off the shelf here, these lone soldier Mishnahs without a Gemara to them, and now we're bringing a Mishnah, we're borrowing it from another Gemara. We're saying, excuse me, Gemara, can I borrow your Mishnah for a second? I want to bring a proof for it. Amalo Garam Truma. It's no worse than Truma. It's not what we learned in that Mishnah. Truma ala bechad umeyaya. Truma becomes nullified in 101. Okay, reminding you, how do you give Truma? You give Truma Trey Meya, 2 out of 100, which in math split in 2 is 1/50th. 1/50th of your produce is Truma. So he's saying there, 1/50th Truma is Truma, but if the Truma becomes nullified because it got in contact with a sheretz or whatever it is, then he's saying there, it's not 1 in the 60th. It's got to be 1 in 101. Okay. An objection is raised. Of course, every time we raise a statement and we think we're there, Shalom, right? We're not there. Okay. Amalei Rav Tachlifa. Don't you miss this class? Because we miss you. This is smart. Okay. Amalei Rav Tachlifa.
You miss Rabbi Smith.
Okay, but Rabbi Smith's not here at the moment. So what can I tell you? I'm here for him. All right. Amalei Tachlifa Bar Giza Ravina. Rav Tachlifa Bar Giza said to Ravina, Dima Ketaldin Shel Truma Biktera Dami. Perhaps it's similar to the spices of Truma that fell into a pot. The Labate Taime, whose flavor does not become nullified. You know, think about it. When you put spices in soup, all right, you've got 1.5 liters of soup in your pot. You know, you've got several gallons. And what you do, you shake a tiny little amount of spice. It's not 100th. It's not 200th. It's maybe 1/10,000th in there, all right? And yet you taste it in your soup. So applying the 1/60th, the 1 in 101, is that going to apply to spices as well? So that's a question here. Perhaps it's similar spice of Truma that fell into pot whose flavor does not become nullified. Because what dose do you have to have of soup to spices in order to do it? So Gemara cites other opinions. Ravacha Shia Bechala Chamshin. Ravacha used the measure for nulling the mouse that fell into vinegar. It's amazing. Look how much time the Gemara is spending on if a mouse fell into vinegar. I mean, don't they have anything better to do? Obviously, in those days, vinegar was very... What?
Control your client.
I know, seriously.
What did he say?
Control your client.
Which client?
You.
Hey, I am controlled. This is the best I get, so forget about it. All right. So what's the whole thing about vinegar? Vinegar was obviously a big micro in those days. They used vinegar a lot. I'm not sure what they used it for, but was. So it's very important to keep the vinegar kosher, just like you're keeping your wine kosher. Ravacha used the measure for nullifying a mouse that fell into vinegar of 1 part mouse and 50 parts vinegar. So 1 in 50, that's more stringent than 1. Is it more? Yes, it is more stringent than 1 in 60. So we have one opinion of 1 in 101. Here we have opinion of 1 in 50. I have all these different opinions. Rav Shmuel, Rav Ikar, Shia, Beshichra, Beshitim. Rav Shmuel, the son of Rav Ikar, used the measure for nullifying a mouse that fell into beer of 1 part in 60 parts beer. So he used a regular 1 in 60. The Gemara decides halacha. You know what's interesting? No one's asked the question. When we learned this, and I don't know the answer offhand because I remember the answer. When we learned this originally, we learned this all with a liquid falling in a liquid. Because if we never learned it with a solid falling in the liquids, because then you just 3-second rule remove the solid. So that's why I think we're coming into this whole question of what if the mouse is disintegrated? Like what?
No. One b'shishim is if something fell in, that means she'eino b'mino. It could be a hard, solid thing, that a piece of meat.
It can be hard, but does it dissolve?
No, not talking about dissolve. They said the only exclusion is here with vinegar and wine. But if meat falls into a bowl of milk,
yeah,
it's both the b'shishim. Take out the meat and keep on eating and drinking.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, thanks. I couldn't remember. So, Moshe just said here, Moshe Druin, Rav Moshe Druin, if you haven't, from Aspa Clary, a little advertisement for his place, who's traveling all around the world, fixing tires, etc., etc. All right.
So-
No, they should know. There's places in the middle of nowhere that need someone to fix them, as tires, etc. Aspa Clary in North Miami Beach, and say you were referred by Rennie Stein. Okay, will you be quiet? Okay, so far in sight, yeah, when he gets there, then they'll see him in sight. Okay, that's how you spelling sight. Okay, so the Gemara decides halacha. What's the halacha? And halacha is idi, both in this case of a mouse that fell into the vinegar and in the case of a mouse that fell into beer, beshitin, the measure for nullifying the mouse's flavor is 1 part in 60 parts of the permitted substance. V'chein koisim shebetorah. And the same applies to all the prohibited substances mentioned in the Torah. And as Moshe clarified, so if, let's say, a piece of treif meat or the mouse, whatever, fell in 160 as 1/60th part of the liquid of the beer, you remove this 1/60th mouse. You obviously have to remove it. If the rest of the beer or milk or whatever it is still kosher. All right, so that's what it is. I got confused with you. You don't leave it in. It's similar. Tonight, Thursday night, is Kolo, and they serve meat. All right, 3-second rule. After 3 seconds, you're lucky if you find any meat in that chore. Okay, yeah, watch it. The guys go to it. The law is that when kosher, I'm just kidding. I think maybe it takes 30 seconds for all of this. But the law is that when kosher wine is left with an idol worshiper, supervision by a Jew is required in order to ensure that the idol worshiper does not touch the wine and render it nesach wine, all right? Wine that has the potential for being used for idolatrous purposes. That supervision, however, does not need to be continuous. Rather, even if a Jew leaves the idol worshiper along with the wine for some time, if the idol worshiper is fearful that the Jew could return at any moment, that fear is sufficient to restrain him from tampering with the wine, and the wine is permitted. The Mishnah discusses law for several different scenarios. So I'm going to just give you the rules, what it is. Always, if you have kosher wine and you're dealing with a non-Jewish person that's an idolater, and you got to leave, no matter what it is, say BYB. I'm going to be right, BRB. I'm going to be right back. You want to keep your OU, your CRC, then BRB. Say, I'm going to be right back. Because as long as he thinks you're going to be right back, you should be very careful. What?
NW.
What's W?
Normal words.
No?
Normal words.
In normal words?
Normal words.
What's normal words mean?
BCD.
What's BCD?
That's what I said.
That's what.
Gotcha.
Okay, he's too smart for me. I don't even understand these LOLs and SYL and all those things that they put on these texts. So don't push your luck with me. Okay, I'm just kidding. All right, so we're now going to give cases where, in normal words, right? The Jew said to the non-Jew, I'm going to be right back, even if he doesn't plan right back. Don't give the aces up your sleeve. Don't tell him don't tell him everything. Let him worry. Because if not, and we used to learn this with these cases. Ovid kochavim, she'er ma'aver im Yisrael, kidei kadei yain mekam yakam. So an idol worshiper is working with a Jew. The Jew hired the idol worshiper, or they're both working for some company, whatever it is. But let's assume it's the Jew's company, and they're both transporting wine kegs from place to place. So they're working together. There's no worry at that moment that the idol worshiper is going to crack a barrel. Well, I'm not going to get into politics with that latest Mishigas and things, but he's not going to open up the barrel and touch the wine, mish his hand in there and make a Yayanesa. Why? Because the Jew's there, he wants to keep his job, and he's going to just not touch the wine. So what happens? The Jew had to leave, leaving the idol worshiper alone with the wine for some time. Now, when is the wine still allowed and when is it not? What's the cases? If the wine was in the state of supervision, and was as long as the Jew was there to watch the wine, in other words, let's say he was in the corner of the room, he's still watching it, all right? Mutar, that wine is still kosher. Im hodia shu maflik, but if the Jew informed him that, and even if he says, I'll be right back, I'm going to the bathroom, all right? It might take a few seconds, might a little long, but that guy doesn't know how quickly he's going to come back. He's not going to mess with the barrel or the idol worshiper. But if he says, hey, I got to go on a trip, I'm going to New York City, or I'm going to visit for a wedding in Israel, all right? We don't know when he's coming back. We don't know when his flight, this and that. Now the idol worshiper is saying, oh, I got time. By the time he comes back, I could already have drank the wine. I could have maybe took some of the wine and made it for Yayin Esech, etc., etc. So, all right. So what is that amount of time equal to? We're now trying to quantify the amount of time by which it would be okay to still say it's kosher versus not kosher. So it says, Kidei sheyishtam, v'yistam, v'yigov. So it says that if the wine was kept in sealed barrels, the status of the wine depends on whether the Jew was long enough away for the idol worshiper to have bored a hole in the cover of the barrel, all right? That's the yishtam, all right? And then yistam and patched the hole with clay, and what was the last of Yigov, and allow the clay to have dried. So if he has enough time to do all that, then we say that's plenty of time. That wine can't be considered kosher anymore, whether he did it or not, because you wouldn't know if he did it. And now we're going to go into a machlokas and different arguments exactly
In other words,
about
if
that.
you're going on a trip, you have to fire all your workers.
No, you better get another Jew to be a mashgiach there. That would be a smarter move.
Or fire them all.
Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Amir, Rabban Shimon ben, close up shop, lock and key until you come back.
You're fired.
All right.
You're fired.
Yeah. Just don't put your warehouse on fire and then come back to
your
collect
insurance.
your, God forbid, your insurance here. You also can go to jail, a lawyer. All right. So let's continue. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Amir, Rabban Shimon Gamliel says, Kidei shiftach hasachavis. So there's a machlokes. What does he says? If he has enough time that he can open up the barrel, the yagav v'sikov, long enough to have opened the cover, applied a new cover, and for the cover to have dried. And now we're going to explain the difference between, I guess, the Tanakama, the first statement, and Rav Shimon. And wait, let's go to the second case. Hamich yeno b'karon o b'sfina. One who leaves his wine alone in a wagon or a boat with an idol worshiper. And he says, I'll be right back. I have to go a short distance. All right. I guess they're in port and he wants to pick up a souvenir to bring home to his family. He enters the city and pays. He wanted to take a nice bath. He says, but he's coming back because this idol worshiper has no idea where he went, how quickly he's coming back. And he said, I'm going to be right back. So he's on guard all the time. He's not going to start doing shticks and making this wine potentially not kosher and then losing his job. What?
He went to the truck stop,
He went to truck stop.
the shower.
The truck stop. Yeah, except we're dealing with a boat at the moment in the pier. But all right, maybe there were trucks there. All right. Nechnas, but that would be the modern day equivalent if you're riding a truck. Nechnas Medina Barachat Muto. So he entered it and did a bath and he came back. Im Hodiyashu Maflik. But what if the owner informed the idol worshiper, look, I'm going into the city, I'm gonna catch a Greyhound bus, I've got to go to the next town, and then I'm gonna come back. All right, that's a long time. If it is enough time, Kidei Sheyishtam, the Yignav. That now we go to the criteria. If it's enough time for the idol worshiper to have bored a hole in the cover of the barrel and patched it up with clay and let it dry, then it would be usher, we're saying. Rab Shimon ben Gamliel says, Kidei sheyiftach hasacharis v'yagav v'sigov. Long enough for him to have opened the cover of the barrel, applied a new cover, and for the cover to have dried. Okay, so you realize the opinions are really saying two different things. One is saying he's just making a hole and he's plugging the hole with some clay or whatever it is, because it's a clay barrel. So he's drilling a hole in the clay on top so he can siphon out some wine, and then he's going to plug it with some clay, and then he's that amount of time until it dries. The second Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, Rasbach, what is he saying? He says, no, it's enough time to open the barrel. His mom is taking the cover off, and he's making a new cover. So is he dealing with a clay cover, or is he dealing with a plastic cover? And we're going to see now. We're going to explain. Now, here's a third case
I have a
first.
question.
Yes.
I think finding a complete other solution if you already know if it's Gemara.
What?
Yeah.
If the guy knows this Gemara already, hopefully he was Megaya and became a good Jew and is singing at the table.
But he sounds very smart to know about Yayin.
It's true. That's why we have to be one step ahead of him and careful what you say. And that's why good question. I started saying, say be right back. Because if you say be right back, no matter how many shtiklach he thinks, all right, he's going to be careful. And what's interesting, the question you just asked is going to be asked in the Gemara. I knew you're smart. You watch, just hang in there a little bit. Right? You say I slow him down like I slow you. You think you're ahead. All right. What if one leaves an idol worshiper alone in his store? The guy owns a store, and this guy works in his store, and now he's got to leave. Even though the Jew goes in and out, it's permitted, right? Because this guy works in his store, and the guy's going in and out all the time. He's going across the street, he's getting a cup of coffee from Starbucks. The owner, the Jewish owner, he's always leaving the guy there. The problem is that this guy never knows when he's going to come back. So he's always got to be on his toes, and he also doesn't want to get fired. So no matter how smart he is, there's no reason he's going to pull a shtick, because all it's going to do is either get him caught red-handed or have him lose his job. Hang in there. But what happens if the store owner says, I'm going on a trip and I'm going to be away for a long time, and it's a long enough time that this idol worshiper can bore a hole, patch it up, or the clay to have dried, whatever it is, or Rav Shimon Gamliel says that he can take the cover off, he can put on a new cover, apply a new cover, and the cover to have dried. That's the third case. We'll bring all these different scenarios of what if, coulda, shoulda, woulda. All right? A fourth case. What if this Jew is dining with an idol worshiper? It's a business meeting, and they're in the Jew owns a restaurant, and he invites him, let's come eat in my restaurant. Why does he want to eat in his restaurant? Because that's where the food's kosher, so he wants to be it's a big important deal. He says, come dine with me there. All right. And v'niach leginin our shulchan v'lagin our hadubiki. And he left the flask of wine on the table. It's kosher wine. All right. This is before the Isurs, the edicts that the rabbis made of we're not talking about Stam Yenim at the moment. We're not talking about that they could see the wine. That's at this point in the Gemara. This is this is 2,000 years ago. There was no prohibitions against this, and he left the flask on the table. All right, or in now, what is a duplicate? Duplicate. It's either the locked, not necessarily locked, but closed, like wine cellar closet, which in this restaurant, they take all the wine bottles and they lie them sideways and they put them into a thing so the waiter can go over and take out new wine bottles. Or it's a wine cooler, kind of, a smaller refrigerated one that they have the wine in it. And it's not necessarily locked, but the only one who really has permission to go in there is the waiter, all right, or the owner. Right, people were sitting in the restaurant and all the wine can't go grab their own bottles of wine off the wall. Right, even if there are 100 bottles of wine on the wall, 100 bottles of beer, they can't grab it off. They have to order it. Okay, but what if this owner says, leaves the wine and he steps out for a moment? Mashal shulchan asur. Then what he left on the table is asur. Now, get a look at this. Remember, this is a flask. I guess it's not a bottle. It's something that the guy actually could put his hand into and mish around and make it into yayin nesach. So he's saying, so whatever the Jewish owner left on the table that was open is forbidden. Sha'al hadubaki mutor, but all the wine that's still in the wine cupboards, all right, which this, sorry, Josh, you said all right if you're in the class, that which is in the cupboards are permitted because there's no way this guest is going to get up and take wine where he's not allowed to go. He's in the restaurant. There's also dozens of witnesses. He's not going to go steal the wine or help himself to a bottle of wine. Not according to in this case, the initial situation. Vim Amalo, but what if the Jew said, have a mosaic, Vishote, he says to the Ayah worshiper, you know what, he really wants to make this serious, says, go ahead, you can pour and drink this wine. He says, he says to him, make yourself at home. Take all the wine you want. That's what he's kind of giving him a carte blanche. So maybe this idol worship might say, he said, I can have wine. That means I can open up I don't need to wait. I'm going to go. I love wine, right? I'm going to drink this flask. I'm going to go open up another flask.
No,
so
he opened one, up and down, another.
Oh, he's really drinking a lot. Oh, this guy's really imbibing. Right. Even what is in the cupboard is forbidden. So again, the Jewish owner here made the mistake of opening up the wine. So he gave too much permission. He made it too available for this non-Jewish idolater to be able to touch his wine. And if that's the case, now when the Jew comes back, he can't use that wine anymore for kiddush, for anything. He can't drink the wine. Okay. Chavias pesuchos asuras stumas mutaras. Okay. As far as any wine the Jew may have in the rest of his house, that which is in open barrels is forbidden, while that which is in sealed ones is permitted. Kidei sheyiftach v'yagav v'sigov, within the time it takes for the eye washer to open and cover the barrel, apply a new cover, and for the cover to have dried. So now we're just kind of repeating the other stuff. So despite the fact that he had these barrels available, the fact is the amount of time he was away had to have been more than the allotted time for this non-Jewish idolater to open, close, this, that, say, pull sticks. So whether he's in the restaurant, whether it's if it's possible that he could have stolen wine or made kosher wine into potentially idolatrous wine, or because the guy in the restaurant, the Jewish owner of the restaurant, gave a carte blanche, the wine is yours, and now all these bottles of wine are open. In either of those scenarios, that wine is not allowed to be had. Now, what does the Gemara say? Gemara is now going to differentiate the two cases. In the first case, the Mishnah ruled that an idol worshiper was helping a Jew transport his wine, and the Jew temporarily left the idol worshiper alone with the wine. Then, if the wine was in a state of supervision, it is permitted. That's how we start. The Gemara elaborates. So, what does this mean? A state of supervision. We use this term chazaka a lot. Chazaka means, in physics, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object that's not in motion ain't moving nowhere unless you push it. So that's what a chazaka is. Whatever it is until someone changes it. So the only reason the object by way of motion doesn't stay forever in motion is gravity will eventually pull it down and stop it. So what is the state of supervision? What does that mean? And we're going to get into the basis for kashrus laws nowadays. Mashgichim in restaurants. Sanya. As we remember, when it says Sanya, it means it's a brisa. Tan Mishnah. Because it's Sanya, he pulled the Mishnah, the low Mishnah, off the shelf. I'm saying that enough times. Hillel's laughing because he's never going to forget. The Sanya means I learned it in the brisa. As it was torn in the brisa. Hare shayu chamarav ufalav te'unin taharas. Someone higher than Am Haaretz. What's an Am Haaretz? It's a Jew, but he's not a from Jew. He doesn't really know the halachas, etc. But he's just as much a Jew as you. He has the same Jewish.
Am Haaretz doesn't mean he's someone ignorant in Torah. Am Haaretz means he works his life more than he learns. But he must know.
Whoa! Thank you for the clarification. You all said that an Am Haaretz is not ignorant in Torah. It's just he's forced to work so much he doesn't learn as much Torah as you. Is that what you just said?
That he works more than he learns.
He works more than he learns. And I'm assuming because he works more than he learns, he doesn't know all the halachas and this and that, and can make mistakes.
Can't make decisions.
Right? So it's kind of a little bit of both. But thanks for that clarification.
Shalom.
Yes. So if he hired this Am Haaretz to be a donkey driver, or he's driving his trucks, okay? He's not driving my Jeep. What? Or workers were carrying his Torah items from place to place. That's what we said originally. The guy's just moving barrels. All right. The law is afilu hiflik mihen yosef mimil, even if he distanced himself from them more than a mil, and a mil is a distance, it's similar to a mile, it's not exactly a mile, it's probably closer to a kilometer, I think, whatever it is. We can look it up. Stomp usually knows it by heart. The distance of a mil. Do you, what's a mil? Oh, forget it. You don't remember that? You're the one who always tells me, oh, this is 4 eggs, 8 eggs, 12 eggs. It's a distance. What's the difference?
Yes.
If it's currency, Shalom knows.
Okay. Mil.
Yes.
All right, let's call it a certain distance. The distance in the Gemara refers to as a mil. Tarasov Taharas, his Torah items remain Tahor. All right, so this initially sounds a little bit different than what we said before, because this guy's gone quite a distance. He says, but here's the thing. If he says to his workers, the ones who are taking the barrels, the ones who are driving the convoy of trucks, the one who are riding the donkeys, he says, go ahead, I will follow. It's kind of like Yaakov sending, all right, here's the first glass of wines with animals. Here's the second one. I will eventually get there. All right, it's going to take quite a while. I said, so they're going to be way out of sight by the time they get there. All right, it's opening up a big of it's not be right back. It's I don't know when I'll get there, but I'll eventually get there. If he says to them, go ahead and I'll follow you. As soon as they go beyond eye's view, beyond where he can still see them, they're beyond the horizon, so to say. Then those things that were Torah, which is essentially most of what he gave them, now they're Tameh. Why? He can't see what's going on anymore. And they look back and they say, whoa, he doesn't see us anymore. Guess what? While the mice cats away, the mice will blame. They'll jump into the wine or beer. So has to be envisioned. So what do we learn from this brisa? That in the case where the Jew did not inform the idol worshiper that he would be leaving, the wine's considered supervised, even if the Jew traveled more than a mil. All right. So I said, all right. Just want to see if it says here. It doesn't say how much the meal is. The Gemara digresses to analyze the affirm. What?
Usually it's 18 minutes.
How long it takes to walk 18 minutes?
18,
How far you go in 18 minutes? That's interesting because most people can walk an 18 mile,
No,
mile in 18 minutes.
100 amais is 54 seconds. So times it up. That's something like that.
54 seconds times what?
Times it up.
100 amais. 100 amais takes 54.
That's interesting. So it's 100 times 54, which would be 5,400. 5,400 feet is a mile. So whatever it is, it's not far off from a mile one way or another way, depending on your size of almost this and that, how fast you can walk. Let's move on. It's just the mill what's considered here, not a mile anyway. The Gemara digresses to analyze the aforementioned brisa. So
What if he has
ADHD
binoculars?
what? You need binoculars.
Binoculars.
Okay. ADHD is Gemara has attention deficit. Hey, donuts. What is it digressing? He's not there anymore. He's not going to see you. Josh, wait. He wants to be seen. It's 10 seconds on camera. You had your 10 seconds of fame? Okay. He's happy now. Maishna Rachel, Maishna Sefer. What's the difference between the first case in the brisa, and how's that different from the second case? I had hoped to do 2 dafim today, and at this moment, I'm not getting there. So give me a chance to get a little bit further. I'm Rav Yitzchak. I have only about 10 minutes left. Rav Yitzchak says, Reisha b'mitahia chamarav poala ufoalav lachach. The first case is discussing where the employer purifies his workers for this purpose. So even though his workers were Amaratzim, they were people who worked more than studied more, he said, go to the mikvah before you start working for me. Why? Because he didn't want, so they're not non-Jews, they're Jews. But he didn't want that, he wanted them to be in a state of tahara, not to make, of purity, not to make, if they touch the wine, tameh, that the wine then could not be used for truma, for, I don't know, maseh, no, what else? For Beis HaMikdash, for Kiddush, tameh wine. Right? We're not talking about Yayin Nesach in that case. Because they're Jews. He's not telling non-Jews to go to the mikveh. He's telling his Jews to go to the mikveh. So he immerses them in the mikveh before allowing them to transfer his items that are tahor, his items that are pure. The Gemara asks, if so, say for nami. So why don't we say the same as in the case, in the latter case? The Gemara answers, Ein ha'ma'aretz makpid ha'maga chavero. This is very interesting. Now, Haaretz is not particular about the contact of his fellow Haaretz. So he's saying, the Haaretz, he might know a certain amount of laws, but he's not really so careful about his friend. So he might not touch it, but a friend comes by and says, hey, how you doing? Shmuel, it's good to see you, this or that. And he doesn't say to him, hey, whatever you do, don't touch my wine. He doesn't. He's not careful about that. He might even say, "Can you watch the wine? I'm going to the bathroom for a second," or something like that. He's not mad. A chaver, a learned person, knows how serious this issue is. He is makbid. Makbid means he is Moshe. What's makbid in English? He is
like particular,
specific, careful,
Yeah.
careful.
Like
That no one should touch it. The worker may therefore allow his friends, who he happens to meet in the field, along the road, to touch the food, and he makes this pure food, spiritually pure food, now spiritually impure. The Gemara is, so why can't we say that it could happen the same way in the first part of the Gemara? So Amar Rava answers, oh man, I'm only up to the second half of 60. I'm never going to get. No, I mean maybe we get down this. I'm never going to get to 70.
You can do it.
Bevelahem derech Akarlotson. The Bryce is discussing where the employer could come back to them suddenly via circuitous route. In that case, there's a lot of roads lead to Rome. All the roads, they have all these intersections, this and that. So they might not see for a moment, or whatever the case was, their owner, or the guy who stepped out of the store, but he might come in the back door. He might come in another way. He might come in from the sign road. There's so many possibilities. Shalom, this guy, no matter how smart he is, this is why he's saying will come the answer. He could have planned everything, but he can't plan A to Z possibilities. He can get halfway through the alphabet, but there's so many things. What he does realize is no matter what he plans, something can go wrong. And if it can go wrong, there's a good chance it will go wrong.
Woo!
And if it does go wrong, he's facing 20 to life. Okay, the Gemara here.
Whoa.
Ihachi Sefer Nami. If so, then the Bryce's last case as well, the item should be tahor as a question mark. The Gemara answers, in that case, when he said, go ahead, and I will eventually follow you, they're confident that he won't arrive for some time. All right. And when they don't, or when in the situation where they're sure he won't be able to ride for some time, in other words, there aren't shortcuts, he can't quickly get there. There's not an express train. Yeah, in New York City, you have the locals and the express. So a person who's taking the local will take him half an hour to get from A to B, but he's not waiting for the express train. He wants to get on this train to ride. But in the meantime, if someone along comes express train and someone gets on it, they show up, before even the other guys at the next stop or at the last stop. So, so one leaves an idol worshiper in the store, and one leaves his wine in a wagon or a boat. For each of these two additional cases, the Mishnah states the exact same ruling as it did for the first case. If the idol worshiper was not informed in advance that the Jew would be going far, the wine is permitted, even if the Jew did not return for a long time, because he never knows when he's going to come back. If the idol worshiper was informed, the wine is permitted only if the idol worshiper didn't have enough time to tamper with the barrel, make a hole, plaster the hole, cover the hole, let it dry up. The Gemara explains why the Mishnah had to repeat the same law 3 times. Okay, why did we need 3 different cases? What will we have not learned in each case? What is? If we had to learn only taught that the idol worshiper who was transporting the wine, I would have taught that only when the wine is permitted, when the Jew didn't tell him that he's going far away. Okay, is only there that the wine is permitted, that the Jew did not inform him that he'd be going far. The Sava Dilma Aseh B'chazik, because the idol worshiper might say, this Jew might be back at any moment, my boss. Of Abakar or Bisfina. But in the case of a wagon or a boat, he might say that the wine is forbidden. I might say the wine is forbidden because the idol worshiper can steer his boat far away. So this guy let's say the captain's the one that's not Jewish, but the owner of the wine barrels obviously is Jewish. And he said, I'm stepping into the port for a moment. That was one of the cases. So this captain might say, hey, I have a power boat. I can go quickly around the corner of the, what's it called? Not the bay, but where the water comes in like that, like a U, and you kind of go around and no one sees it.
Bow.
No, not the boat. An inlet of water. Another word for like a bay. Well,
Harbor.
no, let's call it
A peninsula?
This is actually what sticks up. Let's just call it a bay. Let's just call it a bay. This isn't, what do you call it, that game? All right.
Jeopardy.
The one where you say words. Charades, yeah, it's not charades. It's hard enough to understand my language to go into charades. Okay, so actually it might be easier because then I won't be speaking. So if the idol worshiper says, he thinks he might have enough time to steer his motorboat quickly around, away from vision of the guy, that he won't be able to see these really at the tip of the bay, tip of the inlet, whatever, coming into the bay. I says, and he's going to do whatever he wants with the wine. Vitana bekaran obesfina. And if the Mishnah taught only in the case of wine in a wagon or boat, I might have said that it is only in the case where the wine is permitted, where the Jew did not from the idol worshiper that he was going far. Bishum de Saba Dilmase Ba'orte Achrita. They said, well, he might come back via a different route, blah, blah, blah. The problem is that when is it okay when the idol worship is worried that he might come back by a quick route, or let's say in the bay he says, oh, but you know what, that guy can climb up on the lighthouse and he's going to see me with a Statue of Liberty and he's going to see where I am. He's going to see what I'm doing on the boat. Do they have lighthouses? Oh, yeah, lighthouses they had those. They didn't have Statue of Liberty, but they did have lighthouses. Okay, perhaps he will. They had something like that. They had to, otherwise all the ships would be crashing into the land. Mishim de Kusava Dama Asebas Beorcha Achrite. Because the idol worshiper thinks to himself, perhaps he'll come back via a different route. Vakaya good at that because he lay, and or he'll stand up on a high wall, like they say, a lighthouse, and he's going to see me. But the idol worshiper, in which we're trying to say each case, there would have been a way that the guy would have thought of a way where he might do it, not do it. But what if the guy worked for him in the store, and the guy said, I'm going out there. So I might say that the wine is forbidden, even if the Jew didn't tell him how much time he's going to go away. For the idol worshiper can lock the door on the store, and he do whatever he wants while he's in there. Turn the sign, say closed, this and that. Kamash Milan.
Happy hour.
So
Fired if the guy walks in and
he doesn't. Well, you find out he doesn't have to walk in because the front door had a peephole, and he's worried that in any time the owner, even if he's locked and wrote closed, or another Jew that's in the marketplace, because they're all Jews, looks in the peephole and he sees what the guy's doing. That's he's going to find. Kamash Malan. So we learned that in all three cases, the Tana therefore informs us that the wine is permitted in all three cases. It's permitted in all three cases because they're worried that either the owner can see him, or the owner's going to show up at any moment, or you see that the peephole case. The Mitzvah records a dispute as to how long in the case for which a Jew informed the idol worship is going to be far away. All right, let's just go down. Amar Rabba Baba Chana Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So what did he say? Machlokas b'shel sit. So what is the machlokas? Let me tell you ahead of time, because I don't know how far we'll go, and then you learn it quickly. All right, it's a machlokas whether or not we're dealing with plaster or we're dealing with clay. Okay. If you're dealing with clay and you're just drilling a little hole in the top, well, you drill the hole, you stick in a straw or a hole big enough to stick in your hand, mish it, or pour out some wine, make the yayin nesech and nesech wine, and then the guy goes and he takes clay and he smooth, because it's a clay barrel, and he smooths clay to cover the hole. Done, finished. Yeah, but it's not really finished, because the problem is, if you ever work with clay, fresh clay is wet. Fresh clay is a dark color. After it dries, it's put in the kiln, then it's a lighter shade of clay, like a lighter shade of gray. It's a lighter shade of clay. So if the owner comes back in and sees this circle that's darker, he knows it went in. The problem will be, what if we're not the other side, which I think was Rosh Shimon ben Gamliel said, what if he removes the lid altogether? It was a plaster lid, and he goes, makes a yayin nesech, he mishes his hand in there, takes some wine out or whatever it is. He's already made that wine not spiritually pure for a Jew, or cannot be used for spiritual purposes, or even drank by a Jew, but it's now impure wine. It's nesech wine. How does he cover it? Oh, he takes plaster. He smears a whole new smear of plaster on top. And plaster dries very quickly. And it's all the same color. So when the owner comes in, he's just going to see the white plasters, and it's there. he won't tell any difference. The only way you could tell a difference is maybe if he pried it open and then looked on the bottom and said, "Boy, this looks kind of rough. This is not really the original, the new old stock plaster covers that I had put on there. It's not." But then again, if the owner comes in and it looks dandy, fine. Why would he want to? Oh, it's 6:30. Well, I have to stop to daven. Why would he want to open up? So that's where we're at. We're going to discuss tomorrow. Unless do you want to learn tonight or no?
Today,
I don't.
tomorrow.
I don't. In the event, in the tonight's colo. In the event we're going to learn tonight, Hilla will send out the thing so we can catch up. Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Robbie. You gonna stand up?
I am getting up and trying to shut off my computer.
Show respect.
I just did get up. I'm trying to get up more.